Hey guys, Jeff here with Ghost Knight Gaming, and we are back with another prop building tutorial, and this time we're working on our own custom sword. Halloween is coming around the corner, so I've been looking at a bunch of different things that I can show you how to make very simply, very easily, and something that's not going to break the bank to be able to make, and shouldn't actually take all that long either. Because, I mean, with Halloween around the corner, you know, the kids are wanting to do all sorts of different things, and let's make that a little bit easier for you guys, for anybody that wants to do this at home and make their own thing. So this time, like I said, we're going to start on making our own sword. Now, this is a custom design that I did myself, and this particular sword is made out of foam. But we're going to make these ones out of cardboard. Nice and simple, easy to get, very cheap if you can find it for free at your local grocery store or something. Cardboard. It makes for a decent sword. And other props that we'll show you a little bit later on in the month. And I'm going to show you how to turn this into something that almost looks like this. And hopefully it'll look pretty cool. So, first step is I'm going to show you all the things that you're going to need to be able to build this project. And to be honest, most of this shouldn't cost you too much more than you think it would cost. So obviously we're going to start off, you're going to need cardboard. You can get it at pretty much any store that uses cardboard. You can probably get it, and even any place where you can buy cardboard, you can buy it for pretty cheap. So, other than that, you're going to need some paper to draw out your design. So, I've already got my design drawn out and ready to go. A lot of my other videos show template making, so if you want to check that out, definitely head out and check those other videos as well after this one. We also are going to need a knife or scissors. Probably a second knife. I've got this knife mostly for cutting really fine details on something that's a little bit more complicated. Your basic sword, you're probably not going to need more than your scissors or one of these knives. You're also going to need, so in this case I've got some contact cement. This is dollar store brand contact cement. It's at $1.50 at our local dollar stores. It's probably the best glue that you're probably going to have, or, you know, cement, for attaching all the pieces, and you'll see what I mean once I start putting this all together. You can use other types of glues. There's Super 77, regular glue, and stuff like that, but this is definitely going to give you your most hold for your buck right there. You're going to need some brushes, sponge brushes. You can get it at the dollar store. Might have a couple of them that might not survive the project, but most of the rest of them, you can clean them and use them for another one. And you need some tape. And you can get, once again, you can get this electrical tape. This is electrical marking tape. You can get it at the dollar store in packs of multiple colors. I'm going with blue for this particular one. You'll see where I use it shortly. You're going to need some paint, whatever colors you're going to want to use. I'm going to use this for the sword blade itself, and we'll probably have some other colors coming after that. You're going to need your pencil, mostly for drawing your template. You're going to need a Sharpie, so you can actually draw your template onto your cardboard. Your friendly local sewing pins. You'll see why in a couple of moments here. And that should pretty much cover everything you need. If I forget anything, I'll let you know a little bit later on in the video. So, now that we've got all of our supplies, I'm going to put them all out of the way so they're not in our way. Step one is applying our template, whatever your template is, whatever kind of sword or whatever you want to make you're going to apply it to your cardboard. So I've cut my piece into a friendly, easy to work with size, so I don't have to struggle with it. And now I'm going to place my template here on it. Now this is where the pins come in. These lovely pins here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick points on my template, and I'm going to pin the template down to the cardboard. Anybody that does any sewing, this is going to be normal for you. You're going to be used to pinning your templates to your fabric before you start working. This also works really well for pretty much every template. For every prop, anything I've done, attach it to whatever you're going to go, because that way when you're trying to draw on your template to your material, it's not moving around while you move, because you're working with this. Especially, I work with a lot of really big props and a lot of big material. And yeah, having my part of my my template move in the middle of my project is not fun. All right, so we're going to super quickly just draw this on. So it's not going to be super complex. Draw that on. And just get all the way around everywhere. Make sure that template is nice and flat. So you can pin pretty much as much of the template as you want to template, or pin down, sorry, so that you have no parts or whatever kind of flowing up, so you can get very accurate lines. Now, I'm using relatively thin cardboard, and while this cardboard actually holds up fairly well and stays fairly rigid, I'm actually going to do 2 pieces and glue those pieces together to make this, give this sword a little bit more dimension, and once again, give it a little bit more strength. So now we're going to take those pins off, and now we have our template drawn on. So next step is to either take your scissors or your knife, and you're going to cut this out. So take your time when you're cutting this out. Don't feel like you have to rush. If you've got curves and lines, that's where the knives of the different blade sizes come in handy, because then you can actually cut around those corners a lot easier and all that kind of stuff. In this case, I generally tend to cut just outside my black line, so that way I don't lose anything. If I'm fighting with the cardboard a little bit, then I don't fight with it as much. And yeah, basically I'm going to sit here, I'm going to cut each of my line points. Work nice and slow. Don't rush this part, because that way if you have to do any curves, you don't run the risk of messing up and having to start with a fresh new piece. All right, so I'm going to finish cutting this out, and then I will be right back. And here we go, we have our sword cut out. So you can see the lines. You see we still have all our details in here, down in the pommel, in the handle, and the guard here. So all the details are still in there, and that's great. So thankfully, thanks to a little bit of movie magic, I already have my second piece. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at attaching the 2 pieces together so that we create just a little bit more of a body to our little sword here. And then the other thing we want to do is, as you can see, it looks a little plain. It feels a little flat. So maybe we want to add a little bit more detail and add a little bit more depth. You can see I've done that with this blade as well. So it's a little bit more depth in this blade. So what I've done is I've actually created templates based off my sword of some of the places that I would like to raise. So this is the central here, the handle and the guard, and here's the pommel. Now what I've done is I've already gone and cut all that stuff out. So I've cut out 2, 1 for each side of both pieces. So now we're just going to look at that. We're going to attach that like that. And just even looking right here, you can see that now that piece has a whole lot more depth and just looks really neat for something just cut out of cardboard. So next step is to actually put this all together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 pieces of cardboard. We're going to grab our contact cement. And we are going to start applying our contact cement. We don't want to be too liberal with our contact cement, but I want to put it kind of all along the edge here. Can't quite see that. So now that I've got these little globs here, this is where one of my brushes, and this is going to be a sacrificial brush, because once you get this stuff on it, this brush is pretty much toast. So make sure you grab some spares, and then you're just going to brush on this glue. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area, or you have, and, well, actually, best practice here, have a respirator as well. You know, do this part without the kids about. There's a lot of parts of this that you can have the kids involved in for any piece that you make, whether it's, you know, having them help you draw out the design for the for the sword, or later on when we get to the painting process, they can help with the painting process. So let's get that all brushed on. I want to make sure we cover every bit of this piece. I want to make sure we can see. And the other reason we don't want to put too crazy of an amount on it is we don't want it to kind of soften up the cardboard here, right? So that's where this has an advantage. And it also isn't going to do that as much as, say, using wood glue would. But we're going to do this to both sides. So I want to do this to both sides of our blade, because it's a contact cement. So it actually works by essentially contacting more of itself and pressing against more of itself. Let's get all that glue in. So then we're going to, again, brush this all in, get it all over it. All right. Now, you want to give this stuff about 10 minutes to actually get to a point where it's almost not tacky to the touch as best, right? So, seems like a while, but when there's other adhesives where you're looking at, so like Spray 77, I've got to leave that for a couple hours before I can actually do anything with the two pieces I've attached together. You don't have to spray both sides, because you can just apply it, but a bit of a pain. Okay, so now I'm going to let that sit, and then I'm going to attach all of that. I'm also going to attach all of my other detail pieces as well. So when I come back, we'll have this all assembled. And we want to make sure when we're assembling that we line up everything nice and even. Okay, so I'm going to look at that as I line it up and line it up nice and even. So when I come back, we should have an assembled sword. All right, and now we have an assembled sword. So as you can see, full blade, all the handle stuff, so it's not looking too bad. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff we could do to this for finishing, and I'm just looking at a very simple, quick, let's get it done, ready to go. That way, you know, you can focus on the other parts of the outfit. So the next step here is actually going to be painting our piece. So I've grabbed some silver, and I've grabbed some gold. And we're going to look at something that's relatively similar to this. So we've got the silver for the blade and the gold for the handle and the pommel. All right. So now with this, we're going to grab a couple more of our trusty brushes here, and we're going to start painting on all of our stuff, getting all our paint on so we can apply the finishing details. And pretty much you're getting pretty close to the home stretch here. So I've already shaken that. I'm just going to grab some of this. Now it may take several coats to get this to a color that you want it, but we'll just take it and we're just going to brush on that paint. All right. So like I said, it may take several coats to get this going, depending on the type of paint you use and how thick of a coat you apply each time. It may take a little bit, and you can even do the sides here, give it a little bit of a silver touch to it, right? You just want to watch out, make sure you're not getting too much on the other parts. You can totally use some tape, painter's tape and stuff like that, and tape up the parts that you don't want the color that you're working with to end up on, and you can basically just keep going, keep applying that paint. So it looks a lot thicker on the camera than it does when I'm looking at it here myself. So I know this is going to take me, it's probably going to take me half a dozen coats, right? We're gonna paint on, and then we're going to let it dry a little bit, and then we're going to paint on some more, and paint on some more. And from there, once we get to the color we want, because this will actually look nice and silver and sword-like, we'll take a look at what it looks like at the finish. So I will be right back. We're going to do some painting. This is probably going to take about half an hour to do. Half an hour, depending on how long it takes for each coat to dry. And then, of course, I'm going to paint this part and this part as well. So we'll be back for the finishing touches. All right, guys, so our sword has been painted now. As you can see, that actually looks really nice in the camera. You can see a bit of the corrugated effect of the cardboard, but you know what, from a distance, Sorry, can't really see it with the angle. But it still looks pretty darn good. Now, I know on the original piece you see here, I've added a gemstone. Now you have a couple options for things like that. You can go to the dollar store, pick up those little gem beads and whatever, and you can add that there. Or you could cut out another piece of cardboard in a circle or whatever, or a tear shape or whatever, and add a gemstone there. You could paint it on just as is, create a little template, just kind of paint on, get that gemstone on, or go without, or add whatever details you want. Like, this is just for this particular piece. You can do all the stuff you've got with any design pretty much here, and like, this is a little bit more complicated than what you might be able to work with, but it could be very interesting given the right. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to deal with the handle. So this is the part where they're going to be holding it. We want that to be a little bit more comfortable, and the easy way to do that, of course, once again, is with the tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the tape right there. And I want to layer this a fair bit. So you see I've got that in there. Now we can get it to look like various patterns. You can even use multiple colors of tape and actually have them crisscross over each other if you want slightly different effects. You can change to other materials as well. Pretty much anything you could attach to this, you can use to make these interesting details. So other than that, pretty much our piece here is done. Like, we're pretty much at that point where from now it's pretty much ready to go. Just got to finish the rest of that costume and then you're good to go. There's a little bit of a bend there, so I'm going to quickly fight with this and we'll be right back. Alright guys, that's it for me. Look at this. We have now built a sword out of cardboard. All told, probably about 2 hours total to make this guy. And that's drawing your template, cutting it all out, and that also depends on the level of detail you've got for this blade. So we're going to have a couple other projects coming a little bit later this month, but you can check out some of my other tutorials. I'll have it up here by my head, and check out some of the other stuff that I've got going on the channel as well. Check the description down below for any of the additional details to any of my other social media. If you want to ask me questions, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm also on Twitch, so if you want to chat with me live, you can head over there. If you want to support more builds like this, more tutorials, and more interesting, how-tos for cosplay props, weapons, all sorts of things like that, be sure to also head over to my Ko-fi as well. You can throw in a donation there, or you can check me out on Twitter or on Twitch and support me over there. And that'll allow me to be able to do more of these, improve the quality of the videos, and just be able to create a whole lot more content for you guys to check out, and more stuff for you guys to learn. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully your kids love the swords you make for them, or whatever props you make for them. Stay tuned for more of these cardboard based props, and stay tuned for more prop based tutorials for all sorts of different materials. I'm going to kind of work with a whole bunch of different stuff and show you guys all that as well. And if you're in the local areas where I'm at, you can also check me out at some of the conventions where I do panels, I can do how-tos, and any of that kind of stuff. If you want to see me at those, be sure to request that they contact me and see if they want me to come by. Alright guys, have fun, keep gaming, keep creating, and I'll see you guys again next time.